All right, and be patient with us, please, as I get our live stream started for our LinkedIn live audience. As you can see, we have Minati Chaklanavis here with us, and I'll introduce her shortly. So, one moment for this process. Now we are live on YouTube and LinkedIn, as well as with our live WebEx audience. Our introduction. My name is Stuart Creek. I'm a marketing manager here at Simplilearn. And with us today is Minati Chaklanavis, founding head of the Department of Mass Communication at Patna Women's College. She's also a noted television presenter. She will speak to us today about how to crack any interview to grab your dream job in 2022. Just to let you know, you can enter questions from Minati into the Q&A panel in WebEx. You can also do that into your comments on the live streams on YouTube and LinkedIn. And we will try to get to those at the end of the presentation. We're going to ask a couple of questions, one now and one later. But Minati, of course, will have more for you during her presentation. But let's just start off with a simple two-part question. First off, how much experience do you have in the workplace? Whatever position or job you've been in. And also, we're asking a check-in question we've been asking all through the pandemic as lockdowns come and go, surges come and rise and fall. Want to see how people are holding up to that. And about 15 more seconds on the poll. And we'll close the poll in about 5 seconds. So here is the result of the poll. And Minati, an interesting fact here is that half or more of our audience are people with 5 or more years of experience in the workplace. So we have a fairly seasoned audience. And of course, it's good to see that pretty much everybody is doing okay, or at least okay. For anybody who's in the third category, we hope that what Minati has to share with you today will improve your outlook for your job prospects in the future. And with that, I'm going to introduce her briefly before we turn the presentation over to her. So, Minati, I will actually allow you to describe yourself, other than I'm just going to mention you're an expert career counselor, and you've been doing news bulletins on Doordarshan for about 20 years now. So you have a great deal of experience in communications, but also that's putting you in touch with just a broad cross section of people in business, industry, and other sectors. So we're very lucky to have you here, and welcome. You're on mute. I'm sorry. It was a thing that happens when we go to live. That's better.
Thank you, Stuart. I think I'm perfectly audible.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you for your kind introduction. It was really lovely. And hello, guys. I hope you all are doing great. As you have already mentioned, that you all are doing very good today. So as I can see that most of you are seasoned, but still there are certain things that always, we have to understand and groom ourselves. So could you please allow me to share the screen, Stuart?
Yes, you should have the sharing privilege now. And I see your screen.
So we need to understand interview. The term first that has come from interview is a French term. And it's a combination of two words, enter and voyeur. Enter means between and voyeur means view. Interview, then interview. So it is a process that is done orally that all of you know, all of us know also. It is fairly structured. It's a face-to-face communication and answer session. So many times, since I conduct mock interviews too, so many times the candidates come and ask me that why everything is written in the resume, still why we are asked to interview. So if the question is very, answer is very simple, that it is an opportunity for interaction and understanding the job seeker. Because any company, any organization should know the job seeker first, because maybe we are interested in joining some organization. That organization might not need us. So that way, it is the best way to understand. Assess the suitability. We might be very good at certain thing, but we might not be that good. What the might not be that suitable for the organization. Judge efficiency level. So this is the way we can judge the efficiency level of the candidates. And this is, of course, the best option available, because there is no other procedure through which we get to know the candidates. Then communication skills, we can understand by asking questions that the person is comfortable talking to people, because in any organization we are supposed to talk. Without interaction, we cannot get any job done. Then also it is the way we can assess confidence and the comfort level of the candidate, because unless you are confident, maybe you are very efficient, very talented, but if you're not confident to deliver the job well, then that has to be developed. It is very, very important. Then additional traits of information. Many times there are certain traits that we possess, but we do not mention in our CV. So that also sometimes we find out through the interview. And the most important thing is that since communication is two-way process, so we also get to know from the candidates that what are their expectations. So this is very, very important. This is why interviews are conducted. Then the traits that make or mar. So we need to have communication skills, analytical skills, behavioral aspects, proper body language, professionalism, and of course, attitude. Trait that make or mar. First impression. People often say, don't know. First impression might not be that important. But recently, in 2021, last year only, one study was conducted among 2,000, HR professionals. It was found that 83% of people agreed that yes, first impression does matter, and 1% did not agree. But that means we have to pay attention to the first expression. So you got it right. You are being judged the instant you step in. The moment you enter, people start judging you, how you enter, what type of a dress you're wearing, your way, your gait, how you come, how you pull the chair, and how you sit. Everything is being watched, and this is done in a couple of seconds only. So when you enter, you should always project an impression of confidence and trust. You should walk in a manner, you should look at the interviewer in a manner so that a trust is built between the interviewer and the interviewee. Traits to develop. These are the traits we must develop, because in interview, loyalty is very, very important. Like if an organization always look for the loyal candidates, because the person who they are going to hire must be loyal to the organization. Then integrity is again very important. Sincerity, how much sincere you are to your work, to your studies, to your academic life, and of course your previous employer. In your previous job, how much sincerity you have shown is also very important. Then adaptability, how quickly you are adapt to the new situation, because in the previous you might have a different situation, a different entire thing is different, and now in the current organization, the new organization, how quickly you can adapt it. Then of course kindness also plays a vital role, especially post COVID. This has become very very important, that how much kind you are to other fellow members. Then persistence is also very very important. Emotional intelligence, that is again that your IQ takes you here, but it is your emotional intelligence that keeps in any organization. Then the tolerance level, because nowadays the life has become so fast and stressful also, so we are getting little intolerant. So tolerance level also, we have to see that how much tolerant we are, and this test can be done. And open-mindedness, we have to be broad, and this trait has to be developed, because when we are working, when we are like students and all, so that time we do not pay attention to such traits. But when we are going as a job seeker, these are the traits that any organization look forward to in the candidate they're going to select. Then quality, what qualities have to be inculcated? That fast learner, like in strength, many times most of the time it is asked also that what is your strength, please describe your key strengths. So then fast learner, then self starter, team player, go-getter, dependable, hardworking, result and target oriented, these are the qualities. Some of you can relate yourselves. It is not necessary that you need to have all those qualities that I have mentioned, but yes, some of, maybe you're fast learner, you might not be that self-starter, but you may be a team player. Maybe you are a go-getter. You might not be that hardworking, but dependable. You may be target-oriented. So it is not necessary that you need to have all the traits, but you have to see as per, and you have to be very honest about choosing your trait, and that you have to inculcate in your life. Then see, in communication skills play a vital role. Like how, since you have come for, you have been invited and called for an interview, that means the interviewer, the organization has gone through your resume, your CV properly. After a thorough appraisal look, only then you are invited, you are asked for the interview. So that then what happens, that how will you do, how will you show? Because everything is already mentioned in your CV, everything is already mentioned there in your resume. Then you have to see that which way. Sometimes it also happens that 50% of something, and you are able to communicate the 50% of your talent. But if sometimes it also happens, so much, but you are not able to deliver that way. So for here, communication skills very important, that whatever you know and whatever the way the question is asked, you are able to answer well, and you must be able to give a satisfactory answer. So for this, as we say, that communication skills, it's called skills, because reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So reading, writing, you have already done, you have already qualified your that academically you have done the thing. Here it is speaking and listening that matters more. So you are able to speak well, and you are able to listen well also. So for this, you need to practice. That is the only way you can do. It is not that just before a day of interview, or before a couple of days of interview, you just go and face it. It requires a lot of practice. You should have some questions, frequently asked questions. You can make a list of those questions and practice a lot, and see that each time, the more you practice, the better communicator you become. Because many times it also happens that the things are there in your mind, and when you come out the interview hall, then you realize, oh my god, I should have answered this way. Oh my god, I have left this particular thing. So for this, practice is the mantra, that you have to practice a lot and list those questions. And each time you stand before the mirror, or maybe you sitting, sometimes standing, just practice. Or maybe you can have somebody in front of you, maybe your friend, and ask the friend to ask the questions, and you answer them. Then the next point is very important, that proper body language. because you whatever you say, that must align with the body language, because it's not that you just sit and you should not have any kind of movement. Many times, the candidate asks that whether we can move hands, or we can move our body. The thing is that while expressing yourself, suppose a question asked, you should not make your body stiff. A bit of hand movement is always welcome. That shows that you are honest, and also you are like you're candid in that way. A bit of hand movement is absolutely all right, like hand gesture, touching finger. There's sometimes you are saying that number one this, number two, suppose you have to say some data, that number one is this, number two is this. You can easily use your finger, and touching fingertips and clasping palms and moving fingers with the speaking in perfectly, it is absolutely okay. You should not stand like a stiff. That is, stiffness shows that you are not natural. So be as natural as it is possible, because interview itself says that it is a kind of conversation. Its only difference is that you talk to your friends in an informal way. Here it is little formal, and it is little structured. So if you change your body posture time to time, then what it will show that you are lacking confidence, you are a little nervous. So you can move your hands, you can always nod, but the problem is that you should not change your position, because frequently if you change your position, that it will give a kind of indication that you are bored with the interview, you did not like it, or you're not interested. So this way you can face it, like but when it is the online, because post covid the scenario has little changed. So when it is online, then you have to always see that whether it is properly lighted, your face is visible, your voice is heard. So these are the different difference. When it is a face to face, so your entire body is seen by the interviewer. But when it is the online, as we are interacting, I'm not able to see you, you are also not able to see me properly. You are just seeing a portion of my body. So there you have to be very particular in having that your face should be properly lighted, this much portion of your body should be visible. So this is important. Then comes that behavioral aspect and attitude. These two are very, very important trait, that how you respond or react to a situation. Sometimes the interviewer will be giving you some situation, and how you handle that situation. So that is also one of the criteria of selection or rejection of a candidate. So it is always said that you should not react to any situation, rather you should respond to. Reaction is little bit negative in connotation. Then comes that professionalism. Professionalism is also very, very important, that though you can be comfortable as well as natural, but this professionalism should not be ignored, like and it should be followed strictly. I'm just giving an example. There was in 2019 itself, there was one candidate whose parents both whose parents died in a road accident, and his interview was a week after this unfortunate incident. So in India, it is the custom that after the death of the parents, you have to shave your head, and you go to the, and that fellow went to the interview hall with his tonsure head. So naturally, the interviewer asked that what happened, because in maybe in other country it can be taken as a fashion statement, but in India, if you happen to see anyone with tonsure head, that means there is some mishap has happened. So the interviewer asked that what has happened, that you have shaven your head. And he said that I lost my parents a week before this interview. And after that, he did not say anything. So here it is very, very important that professionalism, because you should not forget that why you are there. You should not get personal, that if something is odd or something happens during coming, sometimes you are suppose you are late or anything happens, then you just you say something, and in a sentence or two, you should finish that personal part, and then you come back to the interview. So this professionalism is always appreciated. And yes, you should be on time, because this is always expected from the interview view. confused that they should come on time, because many times it happens that the names are announced and that candidate is not there. And this is always taken as a negative, uh, personality. Then comes that ask yourself. This is a very, very important question that maybe you have got some, qualification. You have done your, graduation, maybe the post graduation also. You have got several years of, experience. So many times, we say that, am I unemployed, or I am unemployable? Though this is tough, but it is always recommended that you should ask yourself from time to time, is there something missing in my personality? Is there something missing in my CV? Something to be added? Why I'm not employed yet, or I'm unemployable? So these two are two different things, and every candidate, everyone who is seeking a proper job should always ask again and again, and look at the trait, what extra to be done, what extra, it is needed to be employable, where I'm lacking, why I'm rejected all the times. And the first time interview also, they should also think of that, whether I'm an unemployed person, or am unemployable person. Though it is a tough question to ask yourself, because we do not want to hear that I'm not employable, but it is something that we should work upon. Then the pre and post COVID scenario, there are certain things in interview that you have to follow, irrespective of COVID, post COVID, or they say pre COVID. But there are certain things that are important, that is emphasis on post COVID. What happened, that online interviews have increased, so people are now, they are working from home. Then we need to be tech friendly, otherwise it will be very difficult. Time to time we have to always see that whether network is proper or not. Then one thing has happened, like we have already worked for 2 years, working from home. So one hand, that it has saved us from this traffic hazard and all, but on the other hand, like all the time we have to be available for the employer. So it is that we have to like 24/7 availability is there. Anytime some messages, or some text posts pop up, and we have to immediately answer that, because it is expected from the employees to do. And empathy has also become a crucial thing nowadays, because I remember that last time when I was there as a board member in an interview. So one candidate was asked, we usually ask about this post COVID scenario, that how did you spend, what all happened, were you positive or not, sometimes these kind of questions. And there, if such questions are asked by the employer, you should not highlight on the trouble or the trauma that you have faced. You have to talk about that, how you have contributed to solving the problem, how you have been able to help your neighbors, how have you been able to help your friends and all. So see, in India especially, we had shortages of bed in hospital. We have shortage because, going by the huge population, the way we have managed, it is really commendable. But still we have faced the shortage of oxygen cylinders and all. So there you have to highlight that which way you have helped others. Like, this is very important, because usually what happens, if such questions are asked, and nowadays they are asked, so then you have to answer this way, that which way you have contributed, rather than highlighting that how you suffered, and how you over came this situation. So this is an important aspect that you have to remember. Then a checklist that I have earlier also said, that when it is an online interview, like the online interview trend has gone up. So check your equipment. It's very, very important that before you start, like 15 minutes before that, you have to have like we also had a dry run before this session today. So it is very important that check your equipment first, then light and sound both you check whether you are properly visible, whether you are able and properly audible. Then you have to pick a quiet place, because many times it also happens that you are staying in a hostel, and from there you have to face these interviews. Many times your house it doesn't have a quiet place, so you have to just see that is there any place that you can have for say an hour. So please find that place. You should not have any place where people will be walking from your back, and that is very distracting and that is very bad. Then position of camera is also important, that how much portion of your body should be visible. So we have one FaceTime there on a computer. So there you see that, and you check before that how much portion of your body should be visible, so that you should look presentable, because your entire body is not visible. So whichever portion till torso it is visible, so you have to see that you must look presentable. Then check your internet connection again and again, and make sure that which portion. Many times if your house is little Wi-Fi, then a particular place you will find that it is running very nicely, and if you go little far, then there is disturbance. So you have to go near that and sit properly and start this. Then background, as I said, that background should be like you can have a curtain or you can have plain wall, so that there is no distraction. So plain wall is there, or you can have a curtain. And a dry run. A dry run is a must. Suppose your interview, before that you must have dry run with your friend or anyone. So that is an important aspect. You can have, you can uh, send a link, you can create schedule a link, and then you can send any friend, and you say that whether you're properly audible, whether you're properly visible. That is a quick checklist before the interview. Then comes that frequently asked questions. As I said, that practice, practice, practice. So there are certain questions almost always asked, that you begin the interview with how are you today. Actually the interviewer is not very much bothered how you are today, but this is just asked for the sake of asking, to make you comfortable. So that you, and there you should not give an elaborative answer that, well, this happened. And so usually it is a small, plain nod, and give a smile. I'm great, I'm good. And even if you're not, just you can add that I'm good, but I had little difficulty in reaching this, place. You can say like that, but after that you should not make an elaborate, statement answering this question. Then comes the very important question is that introduce yourself on, or tell us something about yourself. So this requires a lot of practice, and you should write down first about yourself, and please pick up those things that you actually want the interviewer to know. Is like some about you, that you are academic. You should always start with your educational qualification, your academic record, that what are the academic achievement and all. Then you can also talk about your family background, and then you should also talk about your hobbies and some achievements if you have. Then key strength you have, like what are the strengths, why do you want to join us, and why should we hire you, and your plan ahead, that whatever your dreams are, that you usually they ask it. And these questions should be answered like as how are you today. I said a smile and answer. Introduce yourself, education, family, hobbies, and achievements you have to talk about. Then key strengths, that team player or any, you just select. I have shown you so many traits. You can go back to the previous slides. So when it is talked about the key strength, then you can, I'm taking you to the my previous slide, that you can pick up any from here, and you can pick up maybe a couple of from here, and then you have your answer, the key strength. And then you connect. I have said earlier also that you should not take any trait that you are not able to connect with your own personality, as well as the qualification you have and the organization. So you should pick those traits which are like beneficial both ways, to you, to your organization, and it must match with your academic record as well. Then why do you want to join us? So this is very, very important, because any organization is interested in knowing that why do you want to come. So here you have to have a thorough research about the organization. So naturally, if you have applied somewhere and you have been, called, so you should know everything about it. You should check the website. You can also see that if the media has anything to say about that organization, any publication, any news channel showing something about it. Checking the website is a must. So most of the time that any organization, they time to time keep on updating their website. So it is like always, it is a must that you should go through the website, know about it, and you see that which way your qualification matches with the organizational goal. So that way you can have your proper answer. Then why should we hire you? Here also you have to talk about your strength, those particular traits, those particular strengths that you see that is matching with the organization. So maybe the organization is is working on something, and you are talented and you are talking about some strength that is not at all required there. So it is all useless. You should not even talk about that. So you should see that which particular, because we all have, it's not that we are just one strength, we have several key strengths. But you have to be very particular in choosing the strength that must match with the organizational goal of that particular company you are there for interview. So this is a must. Then goes, where do you see yourself in 5 years? This is a question, and it's a difficult, question we call, because it any employer who is planning to hire, is satisfied with your answer, and has decided to hire, so will not like you to leave that organization. So you have to talk about, even if you are planning, you have to talk about that which way in 5 years you will be working with the organization, you will be working, gaining experience, you will develop team spirit. How can you be a team leader in the same organization? You can also say that which way you can work on different projects, from one project to the other project of the organization. So these are the ways you can talk about your 5-year planning. And then that how you describe, and sometimes the tricky questions that how your friends or how your neighbors describe you. So here also you can take some of the key strengths that you feel that is important, and you genuinely feel that it happens. And sometimes you have to develop, as I said, that there are some traits that we do not have. Some traits can be also acquired. There are some traits that we are born with, and some talents, we call it god gifted. But there are certain traits that we can always acquire. So we have to see that whether we can acquire team, can be a team player. Many times it also happens that we are little introvert, we don't feel like communicating with people. But when you wish to work with some organization, you have to develop that skill. So how you have to start interacting with people. So one at a time, first with one person, then with 3 person, 4 persons. In this way you have to develop. Then patience is another thing that's very much important. And you have to have that communication skills, that how comfortable you are communicating with people, because many times without communication you cannot build a team. And if you're not able to build the team, the trust will also not be built. So you need to work hard on your communication. And then one more important thing is that is many times, and most of the time I have seen that the employers also ask, when the employer is satisfied with the way you have answered the questions, then employers ask you that, do you have any question, and what are your expectation from us? So that question has to be handled very nicely. You have to prepare some questions for them to ask, that these are the questions you are planning to ask. Maybe that what is the expectation, the salary, the growth, and all. You have to talk about that, especially a project, that what is the the plan and the organizational goal of that company. You show your interest. And if you ask 3-4 questions regarding that particular organization, then employer will also feel that, yes, yeah, you are interested and this is the right candidate. But if you say, no, I don't have any question to ask, that shows little, that you are not interested, or maybe you know everything about the organization. So there's not the right answer that any candidate should say to the interviewer. So these are certain things that you have to always keep in your mind. An interview is not something that we should be scared of or the frightened. It is only that a bit of practice required. Some questions you have to keep in your mind. You have to work on your body. You have to work on your non-verbal communication, because see, what you say and how your body responds to that particular thing is very, very important. It must align with your body. If you're saying something and your body is different, then it will never be a good sign. So you should see that whether your eyes are having proper eye contact is there. You are looking, you're passively. It is not that you have to give a stern look at the interviewer, but yes, eye to eye contact is a must. And you should also think that wearing a smile is always good. That shows your positive attitude. You are taking the questions very nicely. You are smiling and answer. Suppose sometimes it also happen that you do not understand the question, so be very honest. Without understanding the question, you should never ever try to attempt that answer. You can always ask that, sorry, pardon, you can always ask, could you please repeat the question, I couldn't get you properly. So an interviewer are also not that bad that they'll not repeat for you. So this is the way, but never ever try to fool. Giving falsify is never done. So you do not know the answer, and then you just try to answer. No, then it's very really bad. So genuineness is always appreciated. And if you're lying, or you are telling readily, that answers are coming from your heart, so interviewers are that smart to find out. So never try to falsify it. So there are certain things that you have to keep in your mind, and it is not at all I say that very tough thing. And it is also not a cakewalk that you just go and people, you might have A plus plus grade in academy, but still if you are not prepared, you are not able to answer well, then there is a possibility that you are not at all um, selected. But if you prepare well, practice well, then there is no question that you are not selected. But one question that I always say, ask yourself whether you are just unemployed or you are unemployable. What are the traits to be inculcated? What are the traits to be acquired? It's very, very important. So can we have some questions?
Okay. Are you asking to take some questions from the audience?
Yes, we can have it.
Okay. So we've had a number of questions coming in,
Because it
and
was going high. Yeah, it was like on, and I was just one-sided.
yeah,
And
no.
since I'm not able to see it, like it is.
Let me read some back to you.
Yes.
So Cyan asks a basic question. I think everybody deals with it at one point or another, which is sometimes it happens to nervousness. It becomes hard to find the right answer. How do you prepare yourself to be more comfortable in an interview situation?
So it is Cheyenne who asked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Cheyenne. Everyone is little bit of nervous. If somebody says that I'm not at all nervous, you take it that that person is lying. A bit of nervousness is fine. That shows that you are taking it seriously. But uh, if you are not prepared, then you are actually nervous. The thing is that before any interview, as I have shown in my previous slide also, that you have to practice a lot, because many times you are little, I do not know, Shan, if you are little introvert. These problems comes, when you are introvert, you do not feel like talking to people. You are like locked in a room reading books or watching, television, and you do not interact. So then suddenly people come and start sending you volley of questions, and you get nervous. The best way is that you have to practice with somebody, maybe your friend, maybe somebody from your family, that you have these questions and you try to reply all the time. And if this happens, and you can also attend some mock interviews, and in mock interviews they will tell you that where you lack, because sometimes it also happens that there are some people, they are not very comfortable answering sitting, and because most of the time they are on television, and they are talking on phone. So phone, they are very comfortable. The moment they come, face to face communication, face to face conversation, they are not comfortable. So for this, you have to some mock interviews, you should attend some mock interviews, and there are so many people who organize mock interviews for the job seekers. Please do attend. And even if you don't attend, but I would say that you can have some family friend, maybe some friend of yours. You ask your friends to ask the questions. Okay, that way nervousness will go. And practice is the only thing, that because if you do not practice and you just go to face interview, then anyone will feel nervousness.
Okay. We have a couple of
I
questions.
hope I'm able to answer it.
We have a couple of questions from people who are dealing with periods of unemployment. Akash, who's been unemployed for a short while, and then we also have Abhay, who asks about an employment gap for 2 years or more. So what approach would you take in an interview when someone asks about that?
See, there cannot be one answer to it. And what actually, what made you, drop it? Whether you uh, fired by the organization? Why did you have this gap? Because everyone has different reason for that. So maybe you have continued your study. Maybe you have done something. So you have to do, because this gap is never appreciated, because it is said that if you sit back home, then you are not employable. So if there is a gap, you see that any course that you can do, you have to justify the gap. And many times we've said that no, you are ill or something has happened. That doesn't work at all. So you have to see that whether you have done something, you have done some course, some certificate course and all, because gaps are never liked by the employer. And everyone has a different you know everyone has a different reason for this gap, and it cannot be one ready-made answer that how it was, why this happened.
We have
Is
several
it due to
questions. Yeah, I think that addresses the question. We have several questions about dealing with salary questions and whether it's appropriate to negotiate about salary during an interview.
Yes, of course. See, you remember that if you are seeking the job, the organization is also looking for somebody like you. So this is important, that you must negotiate your salary. So it shows that you are confident and you are able to appraise yourself. So you feel free to negotiate.
We have
And this is good also.
um, we have some questions also about
I hope
um,
I'm clear.
yeah. Um, so we have also questions about the typical interview question about weaknesses. If somebody asks, what is your weakness, or list 3 weaknesses you have, what would you advise?
Yes. So sometimes it also happens that out of excitement, he or she doesn't have any weakness. That is a white lie. So you can all got your weakness, and you say that due to that weakness, what has happened? Suppose, there was one candidate said that punctuality is the weakness, and nowadays, most of the time people are not that punctual. So you can say that punctuality. I'm very much to the time, and I'm punctual. For this, I have to suffer a lot. Whichever place I go, I have to wait. But still, since it is my weakness, I cannot do it. And sometimes you can say that yes, I get a little nervous, and I'm working on it. I'm little emotional, I'm working on it. But don't ever say that you don't have any weakness. You can
Okay.
say that you accept, and I'm working on it.
Um, Shraddha has a question. Shraddha is educated in the finance field, but wants to switch into the HR field, and has a question that always comes up in every interview, which is, why do you want to switch careers? So, what kinds of approach can Shraddha take for that?
Switching career means from one organization to the other. Then one thing is that stagnancy is there, like you felt that your talent is not properly explored, not properly exploited. That's why you are switching. And you also felt a kind of a stagnancy, and you felt that if you continue with the same thing, you won't be that happy, and you wanted to explore.
That makes sense. Um, is a degree a necessary thing for employment these days, or can you substitute a postgraduate type of certification, a skills certification, with experience?
It varies from organization to organization. Like in some of the places, it is just after graduation you can be employed, but in some of the places you need to be little more experienced. What happens in most of the time, in graduation level, we understand the what of something, like where of something, or maybe yes, basically it is what of something. But when you do post graduation on the same subject, then you will start understanding the why of something, that particular paper, or the how of something. So in some of the organization, that why part or that how part is important, but in some of the organization, just after graduation you can join. Like in mass communication, I'm telling that in mass communication, suppose you are able to write well, you understand the media house as well, so even after graduation you can join. So that is there. And post graduation, that makes you more mature, you understand the why part of it. So from organization to organization it varies.
I can also mention that something happened a couple of years ago in the United States where the United States government actually issued a directive that said that they want to put more emphasis on skills demonstration rather than degrees when they're hiring. So there is a shift that says, we recognize that sometimes people with a degree don't necessarily have the skills experience to do the job in question. So you need to be able to demonstrate both of those things. So
Yes.
that's a trend that's happening. We have um, Adam asks an interesting question. Adam asks, how should you answer the question, why should we hire you, when the person asking is an employment agency and you don't even know which company they're hiring for?
That's am I supposed to answer this?
Yes, please.
Yes, that is what the question is. As I said, that why should we hire you? So for this, you have to understand the organization goal of that particular company. As I said earlier, also that you should go through the entire website of the organization you have applied for, and then you see that which particular trait is matching with the organization goal of that particular organization. Because every organization has different aims and objective. And you have to see that it is not just that one trait that you have. You have several traits, you have several key strengths, but every key strength is not necessary for any organization. So what you have to do is that when you are applying, and you have to see that this question is going to ask, then you should see the organization properly. You should browse, do bit of, a bit of research, you do find out the objectives and aims, and then you see that which particular key strength that you have will match more, and then you have to highlight that particular strength of yours, that which way that strength you are blessed with, that strength, and that strength, with the help of that strength, you are going to contribute to the enhancement of the company.
And in the particular case that Adam was asking about, where you're dealing with an employment agency, but you don't know the name of the actual company they're hiring for, it's still a
that is
similar.
little tricky. That is little tricky. But there also you have to say the general traits that you have, and there you have to be very honest. Suppose if you are not very hardworking, and then you said that you are hardworking, then after hiring you, you will be fired immediately.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people who cannot work hard, but they smart, work smart. So then you have to say that which way, whether you can work smart or you can work hard. That's important. So you
And
have to, self analysis is very important, Stuart. Like many times it happens that we do not know our strength and we just go. So before an interview, you have to see that actually what is your strength, actually what are inherent traits of yours, and this is very important. Sometimes if we just go, we do not know. We all are blessed with some strength, and that you have to explore. So first you explore yourself, only then you can explore the company you're applying for. That's very important.
I can, by the way, mention an experience that I had when I was young, and
Yeah.
I went for an interview for the United States Navy's nuclear propulsion program. The idea was that you had to pass basic interview with a couple of members of the service before you could get through to the next levels of interviews, and ultimately with the admiral. And I did so very, very poorly on that interview. It was, if I had had this opportunity to get briefed on interview tips and practice, I might be in an entirely different field of career today. But that does bring up a couple of questions that have come in from the audience. Are there resources that you can recommend, Minati, for practicing and for mock interviewing?
I would suggest that everyone must read newspapers. It's very important that like one hand that you improve your communication by reading the newspaper loudly, and on the other hand that you also are abreast of all the things happening around the world. Many times people might ask you that what is your take on this Russia Ukraine war, or what is your take on any of the particular international issue. So you should be able to answer. I'm not saying that you have to support a particular organization or don't support. Only thing is that you have to answer that thing, being a neutral watcher or reader. So this newspaper reading helps a lot. And read and write, reading and writing make people perfect. I say that practice makes a man perfect, and women as well.
Mm-hmm. Mohammed asks an interesting question, and I think a lot of people have this idea on their mind, which is, if you're working at a company and you're not happy, so you go to give an interview at a new company, what are some of the things you should keep in mind when you're interviewing at that new company?
This is the blunder that most of the time job seekers do. They start, many times because I'm in board of many of the organizations. They hire me as a board member. So we ask that what is your past experience with the past organization that you are working. They start saying all bad things about the organization. So this is not done. You are not supposed to say anything wrong about your previous organization, because if you say that, then what will happen? The particular organization you have come for the interview, they might think that you are going to do the same thing after you leave this place. So never ever say. You simply say that you wanted to explore, you felt that your talent was not particular, properly utilized, you were underutilized, or maybe you felt little bit of stagnancy. That's why you are going for. Never ever say that you're not happy, you are unhappy. These are not the terms that you should use in any of the interviews you face.
Yeah, I think that's so important, because whatever you're going to say about your current job, they know that you'll say something similar about them in your
Exactly.
new job. So people get very nervous about that.
Hmm.
Deepak asks,
They
uh,
start
Deep,
saying.
yeah, Deepak asked a question about switching from a teaching career into data science and data analysis. Do you have any opinion on whether that's a good uh, decision or a good career path to look at?
I couldn't get that. From teaching to.
Into data science and data analysis.
Okay, okay. That's fine. You see, it all depends on your personal, comfort level. Like, if you love teaching and then you wish to suddenly, switch over to that particular job that you are thinking in your mind that, okay, that will give you a lot of money wise, it is very good. But again, the most important thing is whether you are comfortable, because teaching is absolutely a different job, and becoming a data analyst or anything for that matter is a different thing. So you have to see that which particular profession you are able to give your best. That is also there. Because many times, for a little bit of more money is offered, and you leave your job, and then you start after a couple of months, you start regretting because you're not able to give your best. So it is also very important to understand yourself, because no one else can answer this for you. You have to see your own level, that where you are it's not only that money, it is also that whether you're liking your job, because you can stick to a particular job only when you like.
Yep, exactly. And if you have a passion
Yeah,
for
it's
solving
really important.
problems in data science or doing data analysis, then it makes sense to look at that as a field. But if your passion is interacting with the people and helping them understand concepts, um, you know, you might want to look at a way to continue to teach, but incorporate these other
Exactly.
passions into that.
Yes.
Um, and I think we have, before we finish, we have one other general question area. A couple of people have asked about how to dress for success. Is it necessary to wear a tie to an interview? What kinds of advice would you give people for being presentable in their dress?
uh, that you should, yeah. Yes, yes. It's important to first that, again, I would say that you should wear what is comfortable, and you should always wear formal. You are not supposed to wear anything like casual. It should be proper shirt, and you have the trousers, and from the tie. There are some people who are not that comfortable. You can go without wearing tie also. But again, I would say that you should see that particular organization, that what the employees wear. If you see that everyone wears tie there, then I would suggest that you should wear tie, even if you're not so comfortable. And don't try that tie on that day. So if you see that you have to wear tie, then you please practice wearing tie, because many times it happens that it chokes and you're not that comfortable. So you should practice if at all it is necessary. Otherwise, tie is not at all necessary.
Yep. And it really is, it gets to the question of company culture, because there are some places where
Tie is
wearing wearing a tie makes you look silly, but there's
yes.
other places where not wearing a tie makes you look unprofessional. So it really does depend on who you're talking to, and what their company culture is. Um, we're running out of time, so I'm going to have to apologize to everyone. There's just dozens of questions coming in that we can't get to, but I wanted to give you time, Minati. I know that you had an exercise that you wanted to go through. Is that true?
We should have started the interaction earlier.
Oh, are you running out of time as well, or did you want to do the other?
Yes, I can take a couple of questions if it allows.
Oh, sure. If you have time, then yeah.
Yes.
We have a question from someone who asks how to deal with anger management in an interview.
Anger management.
Yeah.
Yes. Anger management can be done through, in India, we do meditation. That's very, very important. Like if you do, wake up in the morning and you be silent for a while, then you start meditating and you start thinking that how you are going to spend your time. What happens usually, since we are not able to manage, we are always in a hurry to do, and we take a lot of things in a go. So that time, since you're not able to manage and you have to vent out your inability to manage the things, that's why you are angry. So the best thing is that you should plan ahead. Like before going to bed, you make a list things to do,
Hmm.
and next day you see that you are able to do those things. And if you missed one thing, then you also see that whether that particular task can be carried forward. Then next day you should start taking those things. Then what will happen, if you are little make your life little methodical, little structured, then automatically you will be able to manage anger. Anger is nothing but your inner frustration, and you want to just vent out. Why don't you get angry at the person who is senior to you? You always show your anger to your subordinates or the people who you can shout at. So it shows that it can be managed. Anger management is in our hand.
Yeah.
It,
And
it
and
is it is a verb. Yeah, because suppose if it is out of control, then why don't you shout at your boss? You never shout at your boss. You do not shout at your parents. You do not shout at your seniors. You are shouting at your juniors. You are shouting at children. So that shows that you are able to manage. You are able to manage. You are extremely angry with your boss. Still, you do not do that, right?
right. And it's something that
So
I would
you
recommend never
able to manage.
showing.
You are able to manage. Only thing is that you want to vent out. And for this, deep breathing. Yeah, deep breathing helps a lot.
Yeah. And I would
Yes.
recommend
Yes,
that you
Stuart.
never. Yeah, I'd say never show anger during an interview. I mean,
Yes. Never.
it's
But
it's a
sometimes they judge also. They will try
yeah,
to irritate you. Sometimes they'll try to poke you. But there you have to take it with a pinch of salt. Enjoy.
yeah, and they want to see that you have the ability to deal with
Yes.
difficult situations and be patient. Um, when you are in an interview and you either don't have an answer to the question at all, or the answer isn't coming to mind, what is the best way to approach that? Um, should you simply honestly say, I do not know the answer to that, or do you, essentially play for time in order to give yourself a chance to think of the answer?
If you do not at all know the answer, you do not understand the question, there are two different things. Sometimes it also happens that you do not understand the question, then you can always request to simplify for you, paraphrase for you. And after paraphrasing also, if you do not understand the question, then simply declare very honestly that you do not know it. And you're not supposed to answer everything. Like if they ask you, say, 20 questions, 25 questions, if you're not able to answer 3 questions out of that, it is absolutely fine, perfect. But be honest, don't give wrong answers.
We also have the situation, and the famous example is Google, where
Yeah.
companies will ask you, questions that are unrelated to the job, but are based on, gauging how well you can solve problems, or even basic intelligence. And what advice do you have for people to deal with those kinds of questions?
So you can actually what happens that such type of when the questions come, you try to understand. Many times it also happens that out of nervousness we say that I don't know, I'm sorry, I do not know. When you pause little and try to see that what is there something, some hidden thing is there that you are able to answer, you're able to get grasp it, then you can always answer. But if you see that it's absolutely you have not heard about it, you have not read it before, then please, it is better that you do not answer only.
Mm-hmm.
And always say sorry. Because if you give a wrong answer to a question, then you lose the trust.
Yeah.
Employer can think that you are going to answer this way if they hire you.
Nabil asked an interesting question, which is, if you are told a salary range in the interview and it's not satisfactory, how can you politely reject the offer?
You can always thank them because they have made their mind to hire you, but somehow you feel that this is not commensurate with the effort that you are going to give to the company. You can always do that, but always thank.
So at this point, I am gonna move from questions. Did you have that other application you wanted to demonstrate, Minati, or are we moving on?
I just wanted to have a game with them, but I think Kahoot doesn't. How many? It is the fastest finger first. You want to play a game?
Yeah, let us know in the chat if you'd like to do a quick exercise with Minati. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of yeses.
Okay, a lot of yeses. Fine. So, participants, have you heard about Kahoot? Have you heard about Kahoot? Yes,
And
just
now we're getting no's. So
yeah.
we have
So,
some
so,
people
so,
who,
so
some
go to
people, yeah,
no
go,
go to yes, yes. Then what you do? Go to Google and type Kahoot.
and you can do that actually right now. That is an
Yeah, they can do.
exercise.
It will take just couple of seconds only. Can you see my screen?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, any game pin is asked. What do you want to play? I think it's better. Let me take mind your tongue, because English language is common, though we have different accent. Indians have different accent. Americans have different accent, but it should not be pronounced wrongly. Accent may be different. So mind your tongue is there. One game. I'm starting. So game pin is asked. Just go to Google, type Kahoot, test. How many of you could?
I think you have to do the registration, which asks for your date of birth. Continue for free.
Yes. So game pin is asked.
I have to see whether it's allowing.
Is it?
Discover Cahoots.
Enter the game pin. It's very simple. Just go to Google, type Kahoot. Yes, Shri, Ali, Vinay, Sweetie. Wow, many have joined.
Okay.
Lovely, lovely. Stuart, you to join?
I'm looking for the. I'm looking to try to join. Yeah.
Okay, so good. It's lovely. Oh, many could join. Great. Now I tell you the rule that each question will have 20 seconds. Fastest finger first. It's that which way you will be marked. Your answer has to be correct, as well as you have to be very fast in answering. So
Okay.
still people are joining. So you can see the question on the screen, and then you have to answer there in Kahoot. You have to switch the screen immediately. The question will be there here on the screen, and then you have to go back to Kahoot to answer them. 4 options will be there. Am I clear?
Yes.
So
And,
it is. These all are MCQs. Many are there too.
The advice to people joining is to go to www.kahoot.it, and that will give you a screen that shows how to put in the pin that's on the screen there. 148. Okay.
So I think everyone, those who could join have joined. So I must say once again the rule that the questions will be here on the screen. Here you can see where the names are floating, and answer will be there, the Kahoot where you have typed the game pin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we start. Mahesh, John, Kaustubh, Adam, DJ, okay. Still they are joining. But it's now
I think you can start.
yeah, we can start. Let them join. So it's on interview first. Some questions I have taken from my slide and some I have just said. Be fast.
Oh, we're typing it in. Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Time up. So next. Murali first, then it is Parth, then Marwa, Mahi, Avni. Next question. So now it is Marwa. Murali has gone down. Next. If you wish, you can take the screenshot also. Great. So now
I'm not that.
the top scorer is HG. Then Marwa, Murali, Mahi. HG is leading. Wow. Candidate John and Kabum have joined. Stuart, you are with second position. Very good.
Yeah.
You have done well.
I did not see the answers in advance, so.
Okay. Good. I show the question.
There we go.
Stuart. Very good.
Thank you. I have a competitive streak.
That's wonderful, Stuart. You are pretty fast. Oh, let me show the question. Oh, still your top. Very good. That's amazing. Wow. Finally, the last question, Stuart, now.
Okay.
We have to clap for you. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. So finally, let's see. Rolex. Third, Muzammir. And it is? Wow. Kuldeep and Super. Fourth and fifth rank.
Okay. I apologize for being a bad host and winning. But
Well played,
that's a
Stuart.
that was a great game because it made me think about all of the great advice that you've given through the presentation. Really pulled it back. So thank you for adding that. Yeah. So I think at this point we want to go back and finish the webinar.
Yes.
Do you have any last thoughts for the attendees?
Lastly, I would like to say to all of you that it is not something that you should panic. And this is not also a cakewalk. If you properly prepare, you can easily crack. And one question you should always ask yourself that am I just an unemployed guy or I am unemployable? Tough question.
And by the way, if it's something that you've answered that you're unemployable now, there's always steps you can take to change that situation for yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off the webinar we're going to talk about a last question for the audience, which is, are you interested in learning digital skills? I know that Simplilearn is in the business of helping people learn digital skills. And so we're very curious webinar attendees and what their interests are. So we'll give you about 20 more seconds to answer this quick poll. And it's all important to think about, when would you like to start doing that? So if there are things that you need to add to your personal toolkit to make you a better candidate, always consider that doing it sooner than later is a good plan. And with that, I will share the poll result. So there's a fairly even distribution of what people want to learn about, but business project management, data science are the leading categories, and it's encouraging that about 2/3 of the audience want to do this right away or within at least just the next couple of months. So with that information, I just want to go on and thank you to Minati. I will put into the chat window her LinkedIn. Excuse me. fumble with my mouse.
Thank you, Stuart, for this wonderful opportunity. I really enjoyed.
And thank you so much, for being here and being generous with your time and your knowledge. I think we got, hold on as I get this in. There we go. That's it. So in your chat windows, be able to see Minati's LinkedIn URL and be able to connect with her through that. And I just want to mention, since so many of you did ask about project management, program management, we do have a program which is in conjunction with the University of Massachusetts Amherst, which is one of America's leading public universities. It's a 6-month postgraduate program in project management, and it covers a whole host of project management and agile and quality assurance techniques. It includes earning a postgraduate certificate and alumni association membership from the university. And it's a step-by-step program that takes you through in 6 months, all the way from the project management professional certification to agile, Lean Sigma Lean Six Sigma, I should say, green belt, understanding digital transformation, and finally a capstone project that ties together all of these skills. And it gives you a really wonderful background in project management, gives you expertise that you can show off to an employer, and there's a set of no-cost electives that you can add based on your level of interest. So I will put a link to that also into the chat, and invite you to check that out. And with that, please follow us on our social media channels at Simplilearn on Facebook and Twitter, and Simplilearn on LinkedIn. And that concludes our webinar for today. So thank you all very much for being here. Thanks again, Minati. Bye-bye.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.